Welcome. Thursday. Big day today. Trump is at it again, man. He's making another announcement. So you know what the day's going to be like. Market's going to try and climb up again. And then Trump's going to talk about something and it's just going to send the market crazy. You see, the last time Trump made an announcement, he mentioned that IVF companies were going to have to reduce their costs, which was going to make it easier for people to receive IVF treatment. Happy days. Is the same announcement going to be made today about something completely irrelevant, like an announcement on, what did I say this morning? Toiletries. Yeah, is there going to be a tariff on toiletries? Is he going to make sure that offices around corporate America utilize a number of certain types of stationery or whatever BS he comes out with? But anyways, Levette, she's going to be speaking today. But we also have another announcement to make. 47th president. Nah, it's nothing to do with that. It's a 47th birthday. Yes, Mr. Mike Dutch. It is his birthday today, ladies and gentlemen. So show some love to Mike and give him a good happy birthday. Tag him up in the chat as he's just turning 47. He can't believe it. But you know what? You're here. We're here. Mad love and respect to you, man. Happy birthday, my bro. So let's get with the program today. What we talking about? Where's the money going? It's an interesting one. Starting to see some activity on ETFs. Remember, there's around $7.2 trillion locked up in ETF money markets. ETF money markets themselves principally are places where investors want to try and hedge themselves or protect themselves. They don't want to absorb too much of a volatile movement in going risk on and picking up assets just straight off the whim. They like to pick up a basket of asset classes, okay? And we're going to dive into where the money is going right now just so that we can get a good idea of what we can expect. Now, we have had some interesting news regarding oil. Trump is adamant with the Russia sanctions. He's arranging meetings with Putin and he's not going to them. He's walking away from them and he's expecting Russia to do ball with him. It's getting really chaotic in regards to the relationship that Trump has with Russia. But Trump is playing ball with Russia in the sense where it is a game of chess. Putin is, in my opinion, he's more than compliant. He's not saying no to anything, but Zelensky says he needs drones to conduct his little war. So we know that's going to be happening. And it's as Goldman Sachs puts it, they still maintain their price projection of gold at $4,900 an ounce. It will go there. Trust me, gold will keep on climbing up. This drop to the downside, it's just another way for them to prepare themselves for the next hedge. You hear me saying it all the time because that's where we are. Interest rates are being cut. Money is going to get cheaper. Gold inversely goes up against that logic because the yield on the dollar is lower, but the dollar is climbing. That's no good. We don't want the dollar climbing, but all I'm going to say to you guys is don't sleep on the dollar. But what about Bitcoin, you say? We're going to break it all down for you in today's live stream, ladies and gentlemen, and give you some flavor. If you like it, please like and subscribe. I've got a TV here suggesting that that could be something that will help you do that. It costs you nothing, you know? So just flipping like the stream, man. Anyways, let's get with the program, ladies and gentlemen. So crude oil, it makes a big move to the upside. I mean, let's just quickly dive into that. Having a look at that, we go over to oil. And it's up really. Look at oil. When oil goes up, that's a problem. Oil conventionally is sometimes seen as a haven for investors because if they're concerned about the economy or anything that could be flourishing, like the US debt, $38 trillion. As one of the Fed speakers says, we have an infinite amount of money at the Federal Reserve. Of course you do. When you have an infinite amount of times you press that printer, it keeps on going, which means what? The idea of fiat is dustbin. Fiat is dustbin, okay? But you've got to kill the investor's idea of it, okay? That's what Bitcoin is here for, ladies and gentlemen. But Bitcoin's too busy jumping up and down. And it kind of makes the guys in Wall Street go, yeah, you know, I want to get involved in Bitcoin. But no, they're only looking for anything between a 10 and 15% return on yield by playing with Bitcoin. They're not interested in your moonshot. If Bitcoin makes an all-time high, then fine. And I'm not going to stand on the live and say to you, I'm in for the Bitcoin to the upside to continuously go to the upside. I will bring the realism to you and tell you straight, yeah, Bitcoin can go to its all-time highs again, but equally the same way it behaves at all-time all-time highs is it triggers euphoria in retail because they don't want to miss out on a good thing, but it equally means that Wall Street is going to be cashing out on those instances. So please get used to the idea that when Bitcoin makes an all-time high, take some profits and then get ready for the next pullback because they will keep on doing it. Remember, 21 million supply minus the 4 or 5 million that has been lost. Can you believe that? They've lost Bitcoin, you stupid fuck. Anyways, so oil's price going to the upside tells me that commodities are actually starting to gain traction. Copper has been trading up 1.56%. Natural gas has taken a little bit of a tumble. When you pay attention to natural gas, you've also got to pay attention to the euro at the same time because euro usually moves alongside with that as well. So depending on what's going on with natural gas, it's going to reflect on what's going on with euro as such. But overall, just to have a look at where we are with everything, the dollar dominance is doing a good job of climbing up. It is moving higher. And of course, we're in this little bit of a move. We've got this red vector candle region right here. And tomorrow we have a wonderful reading on the CPI. I've just got something in, I could be wrong. All right. But I just believe that the CPI data is going to come in at a surprise. I don't know. And that means I want assets across the board to shit the bed. I want everything to just go down before CPI. Anything that moves up is a worry. I don't want to see anything moving up from now. I want to see it going down because that would then solidify the idea that even though the Federal Reserve, an announcement was made yesterday on Wall Street Journal saying that the Fed has actually lost the private jobs data. Can you believe that? It's lost the data on the private jobs market. That's non-farm payrolls. They've lost it. Like, they better flipping hurry up, man, because the US government shutdown seems to be continuing. So as long as that's shut down, when they find the data, the government will reopen. Anyway, that's another story. But I've just got an expectation that the reading here, it's not going to be what we think it is. They're expecting inflation to come up, okay? And just here, you've heard it here first. If everything goes down today, this is going to come in tomorrow, as in good, which means it will solidify the idea of a rate cut. Now, rate bettors are expecting the rates to be cut regardless. If they think that inflation is going to be coming in higher, then these bets right here will be adjusted. They will adjust to that, 3.754%, all right? So at most, we're going to get 50 basis points. At minimum, we're going to get 25 basis points. That's good news. And that's what investors are expecting, okay? Can we assume that they're preparing themselves for the worst case scenario? Well, let's just look at where we are. Dollar dominance is climbing up. Equally, we've got some and listen, please monitor this, all right? When you leave this live stream, go and upgrade your packages on TradingView and just pay close attention to the volatility index futures because you can then take order flow on that and put together the idea of how many contracts are coming in on the VIX, okay? Let me show you. This is the VIX, the VIXI here. This is the ProShares VIX short-term futures ETF, all right? When this goes up, all right, that means the stock market's going down because investors are trying to protect their portfolios by taking advantage of volatility index futures, all right? So when this pumps, everything goes down. When this goes down, everything goes up, okay? In the actual index markets for the volatility index, okay, with that spread betting, you can see that the VIX itself is currently trading positive at 1.09%. And we've got this violet vector candle coming into play right now, which tells me that there was an instance of it hedging yesterday, and then they equally then returned back down again, which means that investors are probably going to try and hedge yet again going into today's market. That could be the case, given that NASDAQ has just made a nice little stop run to the upside and took a healthy shoe bag lower. So that's going to be an interesting one to see how the market's going to play out today, given that today Donald Trump is going to be making an announcement at 3 p.m. Levette's going to be talking, giving a press briefing, but she's going to make it at 1 p.m. and then turn up at 5:15 because she's always bloody late for that. I don't understand what she spends more time on, looking good or not. But I got some flavor for you all, ladies and gentlemen. Who's been talking about quantum computers the most? Let's be honest now. I don't like to blow my own trumpet as such, but I feel happy that I've been giving you guys the breakdown of it all. Check this shit out. Quantum stock surge on report Trump eyeing stakes in the group like Intel, rare earth companies. Wall Street Journal reported that Trump administration is in talks about taking equity stakes in quantum computing firms in exchange for federal funding. Quantum computing is seen as the next frontier in the US-China technology race with vast implications for defense, industry, and cybersecurity. Another thumbs up for you there, ladies and gentlemen. I feel like I have served you with that understanding. Does anybody remember US Rare Earth? We spoke about it last week. US Rare Earth Company signs a strategic deal with Japanese government. I mean, come on. And all I ask is a like and a subscribe. That shit is free. So just do it. But I'm giving you game because we're understanding. Trump coming in with this Intel investment means that he's going to be looking elsewhere. What you've got to understand is this, ladies and gentlemen. If there is a race against China, then you better start getting involved in things that are influenced by China, and a lot of it being made in China. This announcement he made yesterday when they said that they may prevent or restrict exports of Chinese products that are using US software, that's going to screw the market. But if the market is really being played by Trump and he is a businessman, he certainly isn't going to be paying at these high premiums if he's buying stock. Let's be honest now. Yeah? Would that make sense? I think it would make sense. If you really do want to start buying and investing, okay, you ain't buying at all-time highs. So any dips will be welcome. So let's get the market down. We've got CPI data coming out tomorrow. If there is any time for you to really manipulate the marketplace, then you do it now before CPI. And if Trump says inflation is lower, then tomorrow's reading isn't going to come in, which is with the expectation of it being higher, which implies what? It means that if the markets go down, tomorrow they shoot up, solidifying the idea that interest rates will be cut and we should be getting more rate cuts, which will equally then lead to the next thing I'm talking about right now, ETFs. In front of you is the story of ETFs. Right now, we have got the top, as it stands here. What have I got here? This is the flow threshold on what's going on with ETFs right now, okay? So in front of you, you can see that you've got the Bitcoin ETF in red, which is going down. You've got the gold ETF, which is also moving down ever so slightly, but showing much more support in comparison to Bitcoin, okay? Now, what you've got to understand is this. Here is a list of those ETFs that people are planting money into right now. If they're not buying stock, they're buying ETFs. So at the top side, you've got IVV, iShares Core S&P 500 ETF, SPY, you've got IBIT, Gold, and another SPF, S&P 500 ETF. You've got the Treasuries, you've got the QQQ. These are all the standard guys that are always getting bond purchases inside of the ETF. This is where $7 trillion is right now, okay? Going over into this one right here. This is your 30-day return, okay? So just look at this, take note of this, and go and do your research. These are the lists of ETFs that are coming into play related to semiconductor companies, okay? That equally marries up to the idea of quantum, okay? So remember what I said to you about when you're investing in a stock, okay? Look at the surrounding industries. You want to get invested in technology and someone turns around to you and says, NVIDIA, okay, cool, bro, yeah, all right, yeah, we invest in NVIDIA. But what about the other companies that are going to benefit off the back of NVIDIA, okay? What's going on there? What about hardware peripherals and all that? There's someone else getting paid. When someone is paid, someone else is paid. There will always be a middleman. There is no one single producer, unless it's the Taiwan Semiconductor. But that's the ASML. But anyway, that's another story. But what I'm trying to say to you guys is this is where the money is going. So look at these ETFs. As long as these ETFs keep on rising, okay, as you can see, they're moving up. Look at them. This is where money is going. It's going into robotics. It's going into humanoid robotics. And you're seeing videos all over the internet talking about robotics, all right? Quantum computing, partnerships are all coming into play. Rare earth metals, everything related to the idea of semiconductors and technology. That's the market now, okay? When you're going through all of this, make sure that you are very receptive to not just buying the household names like Rare Earth Company. Look at this Rare Earth Company over here. Look, this is it. Rare Earth Metals. All right. USA Rare Earth. Trump's trying to get it so everything happens in the US. Here we go. Look at it. They've just signed an agreement and it's already up 1.51% in out of hours market. So when the market opens, it's already going to be up at $24.83. This is cheap and cheerful, ladies and gentlemen. It's cheap as chips. Only 40 funds are playing this right now and it's been increasing. It's just recently come into play. Okay. So you can appreciate where we're going to end up with this bad boy. All right. So if you've got Trump for the next 4 years in principle, then this company is going to obviously see the benefit of that. All right. So just take that into consideration. Quantum computing, humanoid stocks, humanoid robotics, and all that fun and games. Get involved with it and have a look and do your own research. I'm just the guy that will voice it to you. You don't need to do everything that I'm saying to you, but try and improve the odds of you getting some risk. Okay. Because that's where it's going. All right. This is where the future is in terms of the next rally, because we're in a easing cycle, man. We're going to get a wipeout, but we're going to just come back very strongly. All right. Do you think the market cares about the idea of the US debt being $38 trillion? It doesn't give a damn. It doesn't, because it wouldn't have gone from 35 to 38. If it went to 35, it was at 35, they would have reacted to it. Okay. Well, they haven't. So the market is clearly demonstrating that it doesn't care, because they're looking at the future. All these businesses that are coming together, Google, OpenAI, Intel, they're all getting into bed with each other and putting that cash to work. What does the shareholder think? Earnings in the future look kind of good. Better get involved now. That's what sustains your rally. Okay, cool. Let's get into some cryptocurrency discussions. Gold investors are rotating capital to Bitcoin, says expert. You just pulls up a chart of gold and Bitcoin. You've got to understand that Bitcoin, there's been the one metric that we don't get with gold that we do get with Bitcoin is the number of funds or players that are moving Bitcoin. That's the only benefit of Bitcoin, all right? Where we get the idea of, he's moving this amount of Bitcoin. Oh my God. I mean, we go over here. It says here, 223 Bitcoin or 25 million was transferred from an unknown wallet to Coinbase wallet. Please pay attention to the market. Then you get another $29 million worth of Bitcoin transferred from an unknown wallet to Binance wallet. Pay close attention to the marketplace, okay? So we're seeing quite a bit. When we get this information, we don't get that information on gold, all right? Because gold is purchased on spot, and we will never know how much gold is being consumed from the spot markets, because it's just different participants, right? The OTC market, over the trades counter itself, is someone that says, yo, man, I got an order of Bitcoin. Who wants it? And get on the blower and be like, listen, man, I've got 500 Bitcoin that I want to get rid of. Well, it's going to come up on chain. But then you get gold, and it's like, I got an order for $500 million worth of gold to be sold. And everyone's like, well, we can't really match you with anyone. Come on, there's some fat cat upstairs. Tell him to stop picking his nose, put his finger out of his backside and get me that order. Give me I want him to buy it. And then they're like, all right, yo, Jeff, come on, Sam, we need you to buy this gold. And he's like, all right, cool, do it, fine. Split it up in 10 orders of 50 and happy days. All right, cool, happy days. And then that just gets trickled into the market. We will never know that. We will then have to just rely on orders, futures markets, and what have you. And it happens at speed. So we don't get that luxury when you're trading at commodities like gold or the Forex markets. You know, you never get true data in Forex because it's spot. It's right over the counter market trade. So we don't know. All right. You'll never get true volume in Forex. But if you trade the futures markets, then you can trade the idea of the expectation of value, the anticipation, or the perception of value. That's something else. So you can make sense of that. Looking at where we are right now with cryptocurrency anyways, looking at the order flow, I've got some bids to the downside. I got some offers to the upside. What is Trump going to reveal to us today? We don't know, but we know that we've seen quite a bit of flavor going into the ETF, seen lots of activity from BlackRock maneuvering. Just looking at the outflows, you can see the last 12 hours, we've seen quite a bit of Bitcoin moving. Inflows, we've had very minimal Bitcoin. I mean, they've been moving, Coinbase has been moving $1 into BlackRock. So, okay, so $1, $2, $3, $4, $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10, $11, $12, $13, $14, $15, $16 worth of Bitcoin has been moved from Coinbase to BlackRock ETF. Fuck, go and sell your nan. Sell your livers. Lose your limbs, all right? $16 has just been moved into BlackRock ETF. So let's get excited. Come on. Tag it up, man. Just post it everywhere. They've just moved a big ton of Bitcoin to BlackRock. And then we go to the outflows and we're seeing 300. Obviously, there's movement in wallets and what have you. But it's about 3.3 billion, I think it was. Yeah, and outflows. Just quickly go into the ETF itself just to have a look at where we are. That was yesterday's. So let's just have a look at sometimes the shit I come out with. What are we on today? 22nd hasn't been actually updated just yet, but yesterday we saw 679 Bitcoin inflows and the iShares one. But overall net in terms of the number of Bitcoin that has been moved, it's been minus 906.36. So yeah, when we focus on Bitcoin on the iShares one, we're like, oh, excitable events. But then we look at the overall figure, we're like, damn, minus 936 Bitcoin has left the exchange or left ETFs as such. So it's a little bit of a sore thumb, but never mind. We can only hope, ladies and gentlemen, we can hope that they just sustain this madness. But going into it all, guys, going over to price action itself, looking at Bitcoin, it's doing very well to sustain itself in and around this range. All right, we've got a red vector candle all the way up here in the 4-hour time frame. We've got these wicks down below. And there's a lot of liquidity down here that we need to pay attention to. Solana is doing great, starting to mark higher, which is what we really want to see it doing. And then we've got Ethereum also pulling back. You can see there's clearly there's no real connection going off. Sometimes when you see Bitcoin going down and Ethereum going down, Solana usually likes to move up. Then equally, you see the opposite happening. When we see Ethereum and Bitcoin going up, Solana likes to go down. Now we've got Bitcoin moving up ever so slightly. Well, no, it's actually pulling back. You've got now Solana trailing to the upside. And then you've got Ethereum just having the day off. Okay. And then you've got XRP. H-bar. Okay. BNB still doing its thing. Got wicks down here. I'm expecting them to come and attack that. Quickly going over to the yen just to put things into perspective because I need to understand where we are with that bad boy. The yen is going down. This woman in charge, right, she's spending a lot of flavor. She's trying to get into bed with Donald Trump, not physically, but in regards to soybean trades. And that's a little bit sour given that Japan's doing that. And China's like, well, we're not going to honor our soybean contracts with the US if it's going to start putting taxes and tariffs on what we can and can't do. So Japan's like, might be a bit of a bigger play happening over there, but we'll soon work that out as time starts to flourish with regards to that. Quickly going over into gold. Gold already hitting the ranges that we want to see it hit. Back up to the recovery. It's a dip buying opportunity. Yeah, I'm in line with 4,000. I'm expecting 5,000, to be honest with you. I want 5K gold, because that's where it's going. All right. 5K, that's my projection. I'm going to actually title it up for you all so you guys know. It's called the Happy Days Projection. Happy Days Projection. All right. Cool. That's where we are. Okay. Questions. Any questions before this market actually opens? Tina, check Aussie companies too. We just did a rare earth deal with Trump USA. Okay. Tino going bold was the sign to leave crypto. That's kind of good. I like that one. Hold on a second. Dollar's climbing. That's no good. Dollar Swiss relatively up. USD CAD consolidate. They're all waiting for the CPI data, to be quite frank with you, ladies and gentlemen. Just quickly go and have a look at Tesla for a second. Tesla's gapping down at the open, man. We've got to pay attention to that. Tesla's gapping down because it missed its earnings per share reading. So that's not going to be something that they're going to be welcoming. However, when you think about what's going on with tariffs, Donald Trump yesterday stated that he was going to be relieving tariff duty on car makers that are in the US. So that's going to be really good news for car makers, okay? But seeing as investors are seeing this story with Tesla, doesn't look like it's a good thing if it's gapping down and missing its earnings estimates. Going into NVIDIA, she's gapping down too. Microsoft is gapping up at the open. Amazon is gapping up at the open. Google is not really doing too much. Meta's not happy days. Apple came into an all-time high. It's got a gap that it needs to fill, which will be interesting to see. MicroStrategy, how's it do? MicroStrategy, not really doing too well, dropping down. Got some nice little green vectors that we could see. A discount 249 could be on the cards, ladies and gentlemen, but that's all going to be on the basis if the volatility index futures does actually trade higher in today's session. It is gapping up, so we're going to know in the next 5 minutes if that is the case. 5K sounds awesome. Yeah. Tino looks like Conor McGregor. Yeah, man. We'll take that. Black Swan incoming. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be a black swan, would it? If they tell you that it's happening, then we know. Happy day projection. When will Bitcoin decouple from stocks, Tino, and actually follow gold? When? Not in our lifetime. Well, no. You know why? Because you all wanted this. You wanted that. Yeah, that's why. When you encouraged Wall Street to come into your Bitcoin, that's when you were like, they're going to buy it all up and we're going to move. Nah, they buoyed you all off. What they did was, right, we're going to keep it at a certain level because we obviously deal with the millions and millions. What we're going to do is just going to be buying and selling 2-3% a day. We are happy with that. That's why your Bitcoin goes sideways all the time. And that's why they buy it when the ETF balance goes up, when Bitcoin's dropping, and you get all the influencers saying, Bitcoin's dropping, but why are they buying and price is not going up? They clearly have no idea about the concept of what is being purchased. It's just wild. Like, you do not buy anything as it's rising in value. Let's be honest. Do you? Do you? A genuine question. Do you buy something that increases in value? I don't know. I must be in the wrong environment or the wrong field. I might be wrong. If a dude down here wants to buy Bitcoin at 104,000, why doesn't he want to buy it all the way up there? Because when you buy something high, it means it's going to keep going higher, doesn't it? And I always sound sarcastic when I say this, just so that I can get into your minds and make you think, yeah, man, why would I buy up there? If he's buying $1 million worth of $4 million worth of Bitcoin down here, or if he's already happy to buy $8 million worth of Bitcoin at 100,668, which is the point that Bitcoin will never go to. It will never go down beyond 100,000. No, ladies and gentlemen, it can never go down beyond 100,000. It can't. It won't. That's the biggest bullshit I've ever heard in my life, that Bitcoin can't go to a price. You can't give me a bias and be like, it can only go to 200,000, but it can never go back down to a certain price point. Well, yes, it can. When you're at peace with that, you know when you're prepared to start buying and selling. What you can do is, when it gets down to a certain price point that the idea of value is to be triggered, then yeah, maybe Bitcoin could go down to 99,000, but that will trigger an influx of orders because that's where perceived value gets triggered, you know? So yeah, come on, 2 minutes into the market. Short the Ponzi. Is that, why'd you say that? 100K is the new zero. Prove me wrong. Okay. Are you being sarcastic? Am I being sarcastic? No, I'm not. Genuine question. Do you buy when something increases in value? Do you? Because it doesn't make sense if you do. The guy that's winning is the guy who's actually selling it to you. Tina, where do you recommend to do research for quantum computers and crypto stocks? Let me explain to you. When you're researching about what a company does, okay, paying attention to how much the major shareholder holds is a good thing, okay? But let me just show you something. Let's just go over to QBTS, all right? Look at this. There are now 307 funds playing this stock. Management owns 3% of the stock, but funds play 26% of the stock. So ownership showing you that management holds 3%, funds hold 26%. We don't have any banks playing this yet, okay? Pay attention to what the funds are doing before you look at what the management's doing, because we know that management at top level can't really do that much, okay? It's when the funds actually start to offload. That's when it gets a little bit tricky, okay? So just take that into consideration when you are trading quantum stocks. But ultimately, when you're researching, all you need to just find out is their quarterly earnings. That's all you got to look out for, all right? If their quarterly earnings are accelerating, their earnings per share is due very soon for D-Wave quantum computing. It is due soon. So given that they have, and they've gapped up at the open, they're up 17% in the open. So that's nice. That is very nice. But I mean, that is really nice. I like that. But yeah, big volume coming in at the open, man. 790%, 16 million shares traded at this point right now. That is absolutely wild. Average daily volume, 52 million. That is just crazy. But anyways, not bad for this little company that we gave you guys the heads up on. Just come alive. Quantum, that's what I'm saying. Anyways, the market is now open, ladies and gentlemen. It's now open for business. Bitcoin doing nothing. XRP rising. Please stop it. Tina, what do you think of the $1 trillion disconnect between the tick Treasury International Capital and Form private fund data on Cayman Islands holdings of the US Treasuries? You know what? When there is... I'll tell you why there's a disconnect. Because corporate bonds offer higher rates of return in comparison to what the US government is offering, all right? Corporate bond average is roughly around 4.6 to 4.7%, all right? Well, I'm not going to go anywhere else, am I? Let's be honest. Corporate bonds is where it's at. 2-year yield is 3.4%. 10-year yield itself is 3.9%. So why on earth would I go over to the US government? I'm getting that. I may as well go into corporate. That's why. If that does answer your question. Tino, best markets to quickly multiply small capital. I wouldn't encourage that, my friend. That's a quick fire way to lose your money. You know, you will lose money. Buy or not buy depends. Oh, NASDAQ, you're doing some good stuff here. Hold on a second. Let's have a look at NASDAQ. What are you doing? NASDAQ is coming up so slightly. It hasn't really, it's traded away from its value area low, which is what we naturally expect them to do. But we've got green vector candles coming into play on the 1 hour time frame. They've got wicks right there. So you've got to be very cautious with that. After yesterday's shenanigans, you know, when they dropped everything down, they've taken the Asian session low. The logic is they'd want to try and take the Asian session high, but we've got to be very careful with what announcements are coming into play later on. 1 p.m. Eastern Standard, Levette's going to be speaking, but we just need to make sure that the market isn't doing no madness right now. So just be very cautious on the first hour of trading. They did exactly the same thing yesterday. They did it there, that little wick. You see that wick, that stopping volume candle? They gave us that nice pump up, and then after that, they then ripped it to the downside. So just be very, very careful with that today, guys. Okay? Your head's on upside down. I know. Tino, yen carry trade. I'll be talking about that later on. Ladies and gentlemen, mad love and respect. Hit the like button. Did I just fucking... I did, didn't I? Did I just talk about NASDAQ without flipping the screen? Never mind. Anyways, Tino, how long did you trade before you became profitable? And did you do the hard work first or after? Great question. I did the hard work first and after. Okay? That's the thing about it. Hard work comes first and it comes afterwards. It's always hard. I don't care what anyone says. Trading is hard. And anyone says that it's easy, they're lying to you. It's hard. It's the hardest, easiest way to make money. All right? Mad love and respect, gang. Please trade safely, and I'll tune into you all later. Peace.